The doorbell rang at 3:47 p.m. on a Thursday. I was in my home office reviewing acquisition proposals for my company's next expansion. Through the security camera feed on my phone, I saw them standing there. My mother gripping her worn purse, my father's shoulders hunched in that way that used to make me feel guilty. Behind them, my brother shifted his weight, not meeting the camera. I walked to the door. I opened it. My mother's face lit up with that smile I remembered. "Sweetie, we need to—" I laughed, not a polite chuckle. A real full laugh that came from somewhere deep in my chest. Then I closed the door. The worst part wasn't the shocked silence that followed. It was that for the first time in 10 years, I felt absolutely nothing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this really started. August 15th, 2014. 3 days after my 18th birthday. I was sitting at our kitchen table in Queens, an acceptance letter to NYU spread in front of me. Full academic scholarship, dorm room secured, my ticket out of the 2-bedroom apartment where I'd spent 18 years sleeping on the couch. "This is ridiculous," my mother said, not even looking at the letter. She was chopping onions for dinner, the knife hitting the cutting board in sharp, angry thuds. "You think you're better than us?" "Mom, it's a full scholarship. I won't cost you anything." "It's not about the money, Sophia." My father didn't look up from his newspaper. "It's about family. Your brother needs you here." My brother Marcus, 23 years old, living in my parents' second bedroom, working part-time at Best Buy when he felt like it. The golden child who could do no wrong. I'd been working 2 jobs since I was 16, weekends at a coffee shop, evenings tutoring kids in math. I had $3,200 saved in an account my parents didn't know about. Every dollar earned while they told me I was selfish for not contributing more to family expenses. "I've already accepted," I said quietly. "Move-in is in 2 weeks." The knife stopped mid-chop. My mother turned slowly. "You've already accepted?" "This is my future." "Your future?" My father finally looked up. His face was red. "After everything we've done for you? Fed you, clothed you, kept a roof over your head? I'm grateful, but—" "Grateful." My mother's voice rose. "You want to be grateful? You stay here. You get a real job. You help your brother get on his feet. That's being grateful." I felt something crack inside my chest. Not break, crack, like ice starting to split. "Marcus is 23, I said. "He doesn't need me to get on his feet." "Don't you talk about your brother like that?" My father stood up. "He's been through things. He needs support." Marcus had been going through things for 5 years. Things that apparently required my parents to pay his phone bill, his car insurance, his credit card debt. Things that meant when I asked for $20 for AP exam fees, I was told money was tight. "I'm going to NYU, I said. My voice didn't shake. "I'm moving out in 2 weeks. The silence was the kind that makes your ears ring. Then my mother said very quietly, "If you walk out that door, don't come back." I waited for my father to intervene, to be reasonable, to remember that I was his daughter too. He looked at me like I was a stranger. "Your mother's right. You want to be an adult? Be an adult, but you do it without us." "You're serious?" I couldn't finish. My throat was closing. 2 weeks, my mother said, turning back to her onions. "You're out in 2 weeks, and don't expect any help from us. Not a dime, not a reference, nothing." I went to my couch that night, the couch that had been my bed for 18 years, and I made a list on my phone. What I had: $3,200 in savings, full scholarship, tuition plus housing, 2 jobs, could transfer to Manhattan locations, acceptance letter, birth certificate, social security card, hidden in my backpack. What I needed. Everything else. The next morning, I went to work at the coffee shop. My manager, Lisa, was a grad student at Columbia. When I told her I was moving out early and needed extra shifts, she didn't ask questions. She just added me to the schedule. "Do you have a family you can stay with until move-in?" she asked. "I'll figure it out." She studied me for a long moment. "My roommate just moved out. Couch is yours for 2 weeks if you need it. $300. I almost cried, but I didn't. I just nodded. Those 2 weeks, I worked every shift available. 53 hours at the coffee shop, 32 hours tutoring. I slept 4 hours a night on Lisa's couch and saved every penny. My parents didn't call, didn't text, didn't check if I was alive. On move-in day, I took the subway to NYU with 2 duffel bags. Everything I owned fit in 2 duffel bags. Clothes from Target, a laptop I'd bought refurbished, toiletries, 3 books. I didn't cry until I was alone in my dorm room. A real bed, a real door that locked, a real desk. And then I cried until I threw up. Then I washed my face and went to orientation. Freshman year, I worked 30 hours a week while taking 18 credits. Coffee shop mornings, tutoring center evenings, library shifts on weekends. My roommate Jessica would come back from parties at 2 a.m. to find me still awake, studying. "You're going to burn out," she'd say. But I didn't, because every time I felt tired, I remembered my mother's face. "You think you're better than us?" I didn't think I was better. I just knew I deserved more than a couch and guilt. Sophomore year, I landed an internship at a financial consulting firm. Unpaid, but it looked good on a resume. I added it to my schedule. Classes, work, internship, studying. Sleep became optional. That's when I met Professor Chen. She taught my econometrics class and noticed I was falling asleep during lectures, not from boredom, from exhaustion. She called me to her office hours. "Tell me what's going on," she said. I broke, told her everything, the 3 jobs, the scholarship that covered tuition but not food, the family that erased me. She listened without interrupting. Then she said, "You're working yourself to death for survival. What if you worked for success instead?" She connected me with paid research positions, helped me apply for additional scholarships, introduced me to professionals in finance, became the mentor I didn't know I needed. "You have something most people don't," she told me once. "You know exactly what you're running from." That clarity is power if you channel it right. Junior year, I got a paid internship at Goldman Sachs, $25 an hour. I cried when I saw my first paycheck. I quit the coffee shop, reduced tutoring to weekends only. For the first time in 3 years, I slept 7 hours a night. I also blocked my family's numbers, all of them. Because 6 months into sophomore year, my mother had texted, "Your cousin's getting married. The family expects you there." Not, "We miss you." Not, "How are you?" Just expectation. I didn't respond. Marcus called next. "Mom's upset." Stop being dramatic and call her. Delete. Block. My father tried last. "You're embarrassing us. People ask about you." That one hurt, not because I cared about embarrassing them, because after 18 months, that's all I was worth to him. His embarrassment. I blocked him too. Senior year, Goldman Sachs offered me a full-time position starting after graduation. $85,000 a year. I was 21 years old, sitting in a midtown office, and I made more than both my parents combined. I bought a studio apartment in Brooklyn, small but mine. A bed, a real bed, a couch to sit on, not sleep on. A kitchen table where I ate dinner alone and felt more peaceful than I ever had at my parents' table. Professor Chen came to my graduation. She was the only person there for me, and it was enough. "I'm proud of you," she said, and I believed her. At Goldman, I was good, really good. I understood numbers, patterns, and risk assessment. But more than that, I understood hunger. I'd been hungry, literally and figuratively, and I never wanted to feel it again. I worked 80-hour weeks and didn't complain. Took on projects others avoided. I made myself indispensable. At 23, I was promoted to associate. At 25, I was managing a team. At 27, I was one of the youngest vice presidents in my division. And at 28, I did something crazy. I quit. My colleagues thought I'd lost my mind. "You're on track for managing director by 35, my boss said. But I didn't want to be managing director at Goldman Sachs. I wanted to build something of mine. I'd saved aggressively, lived in the same Brooklyn studio for 7 years, drove a used Honda, packed lunches. I had $380,000 in savings and investments. I used it to start my own financial consulting firm, specializing in helping small businesses optimize their finances and scale sustainably. The first year, I nearly went bankrupt, twice. The second year, I broke even. The third year, I turned a profit. By year 5, last year, my firm had 18 employees, 7-figure revenue, and clients across 3 states. I moved into a brownstone in Park Slope, 3 bedrooms, home office, garden. I was 33 years old and I'd built everything myself, which brings us back to that Tuesday. 3:47 p.m. After I closed the door, I went back to my office. My phone rang immediately. Unknown number. I didn't answer. It rang 6 more times in the next hour, different numbers. Finally, a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Sophia, it's Marcus. We really need to talk. It's important." I stared at it for a long moment. Then I blocked the number. 20 minutes later, my doorbell rang again. Through the camera, just Marcus this time. Looking older than 38. Tired, I pressed the intercom button. "Leave. Soph, please. Just 5 minutes. You have 3 seconds before I call the police." "Dad's sick," he blurted. "He needs surgery. We can't afford—" I turned off the intercom. My hands were shaking. Not from guilt, from rage. 10 years. 10 years of silence. And they showed up because they needed money. That evening, my phone buzzed. An email from an address I didn't recognize. "Sophia, this is your mother. I got your email from your company website. I know you're angry, but family is family. Your father has a heart condition. He needs bypass surgery. It's $85,000 after insurance. We've tried everything. You're our last hope. Please, he's your father." I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to my therapist with the subject line, "Is it crazy that I feel nothing?" Dr. Martinez and I had been working together for 4 years. She'd helped me unpack the guilt, the people-pleasing, the voice in my head that said I owed them something. She called me within an hour. "How are you feeling?" Honestly, relieved. Relieved that I feel nothing. I was worried there might still be something there, some part of me that would want to help. But there's not. They're strangers asking a stranger for money. "That's not crazy," she said. "That's a healthy boundary." But I couldn't stop thinking about it, not because I felt guilty, because I felt curious. I wanted to know what happened. How did they go from kicking me out with nothing to needing $85,000 for surgery? So I did what I do best. Research. I hired a private investigator. Not cheap, but worth it. The report came back in 3 days. 47 pages. Here's what I learned. My father had worked at the same warehouse job for 30 years. Retired 2 years ago with a modest pension. Should have been fine. Except Marcus had accumulated $127,000 in debt. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans. He'd been borrowing from my parents for 15 years. They'd refinanced their house twice to cover him. My mother had gone back to work part-time at 63 to help make ends meet. Marcus was still living with them. Still unemployed more than employed. Still the golden child who needed support. My father's heart condition was real. Likely stress-induced. The surgery was necessary. They'd applied for medical loans and been denied. Bad credit. Too much existing debt. They were about to lose their house. And I was supposed to save them. I sat with this information for 2 days. Part of me, the part that remembered being 11 years old and my dad teaching me to ride a bike, wanted to help. But the bigger part remembered being 18 and asking for help and being told I was selfish. I thought about what Professor Chen once said. You can acknowledge someone's suffering without making it your responsibility. They made choices. For 10 years, they chose Marcus over stability. They chose enabling over boundaries. They chose pride over their relationship with me. I didn't cause their crisis. I couldn't fix it, and most importantly, I didn't owe them a rescue. A week later, the doorbell rang again. Saturday morning, 9:12 a.m. Just my mother this time. I opened the door but kept the screen door locked. She looked smaller than I remembered. Grayer. Tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. "Please," she said. "Just talk to me." "You have 3 minutes." She flinched. "Sophia, I know we hurt you. You don't know anything about me. You haven't known anything about me for 10 years. You're right." Her voice cracked. "You're absolutely right. We were wrong. I was wrong. But your father..." is dealing with consequences of his choices, just like I dealt with consequences of mine. You were a child, I was your child, and you threw me away because I wanted an education. We were scared, the words burst out of her. You were so smart, so driven. We knew once you left you wouldn't come back. We thought if we made you stay. You'd what? Keep me small? Keep me controllable? She was crying now. We thought we were protecting the family. You were protecting Marcus. There's a difference. He's struggling. He's 38 years old. My voice rose. I was 18, working 2 jobs, sleeping on your couch, and saving for my future. He's had 20 more years than I had, and all the support I never got. His struggles are not my problem. So you'll just let your father die? The manipulation was so obvious it was almost funny. Dad's not dying, I said calmly. He needs surgery. There are payment plans, charity programs, and crowdfunding. There are a dozen options that don't involve the daughter you disowned. We never disowned. You told me if I walked out, don't come back. I walked out. I'm not coming back. Please. She gripped the screen door. I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll apologize publicly. I'll tell everyone we were wrong. Just please help him. You want to apologize? Fine. Post a public apology on Facebook. Tag me. Detail exactly what you did and why it was wrong. Apologize not because you want money, but because you genuinely understand you hurt me. Then get Marcus to move out, get a real job, and pay you back. Show me you've actually changed, and maybe, in 5 years, we can have coffee. 5 years? He might not have 5 years. Then you'd better work fast. I closed the door. This time, I didn't feel anything. I felt powerful. She didn't post the apology. Instead, I got calls from relatives I hadn't heard from in a decade. Suddenly, everyone had my number. How can you be so cruel? My aunt demanded. You're really going to let pride kill your father? A cousin texted. Family is supposed to forgive, an uncle lectured. I blocked them all, but one call I answered. My childhood friend, Diana. We'd kept in loose touch over the years. Your mom called my mom, she said. She's telling everyone you're heartless, that you're rich and won't help. What do you think? I asked. I think you slept on a couch for 18 years while they paid Marcus's credit cards. I think they made their choices. But Soph, are you okay? That question broke something open. I don't know, I admitted. I don't feel guilty. I feel angry. That they think they can show up after 10 years and I'll just forget. That they think family means I owe them, but it doesn't mean they owe me basic support. You don't owe them anything, Diana said firmly. You know that, right? Logically, yes, but there's this voice. The voice that says good daughters help? Yeah, good daughters do help when they have good parents. You didn't have good parents, Soph. You had people who kept you fed and clothed, the bare minimum, and then punished you for wanting more. That's not parenting. That's control. After we hung up, I texted Dr. Martinez. How do I know I'm not the villain here? She responded, villains don't ask that question. 2 months later, I got a Facebook friend request from Marcus. His profile was public. I looked through it. He'd posted a GoFundMe for Dad's surgery, raised $11,000 of the $85,000 goal. Most donations were $20 or less from distant relatives and family friends. Comments were full of people tagging me. Have you asked your successful daughter? Someone had screenshot my company's homepage showing me at a conference and used it to comment. She can afford to help, but won't. Marcus had responded. Family is complicated. I stared at that for a long time. Then I made a decision. I donated $500 to GoFundMe, anonymously. Not because I felt obligated, because my father was a human being who needed surgery and I could spare $500 without hurting myself. But I also drafted a will with my lawyer, explicitly excluding my parents and brother from any inheritance. If I died tomorrow, my money would go to scholarships for first-generation college students and organizations supporting financial independence. They would never have power over me again, not through guilt, not through expectation, not through anything. A week after my anonymous donation, I got a letter, physical mail, forwarded from my office, my father's handwriting. Sophia, your mother told me about your conversation. She didn't tell me what you said, but I could fill in the blanks. I've had a lot of time to think, sitting here waiting for surgery that might not happen. You're right about everything. We failed you. I failed you. I knew it then, and I've known it every day since. But pride is a hell of a drug, and by the time I realized what we'd lost, it felt too late. Marcus is my son, and I love him, but I enabled him to be weak, and I punished you for being strong. That's not parenting. That's cowardice. I'm not writing to ask for money. Your mother shouldn't have done that. I'm writing to say I'm sorry, and I'm proud of you, and you owe me nothing. I hope you have a good life. You've certainly earned it. Dad, I read it sitting at my kitchen table, the table in my brownstone, in the home I built, in the life I created. I cried, not because I forgave him, but because it was the acknowledgement I'd needed 10 years ago. I didn't respond to the letter, but I did increase my anonymous GoFundMe donation to $5,000, enough to make a difference, not enough to solve everything. They never knew it was me. My father got his surgery through a combination of the GoFundMe, a hospital payment plan, and charity care. He survived. I know this because I pay for a subscription service that alerts me to public records and news about them. Not because I care, because I need to know if they ever show up at my door again. They haven't. 6 months after that door slam heard round my family, I was giving a keynote at a financial literacy conference. The topic was Building Wealth from Nothing, a First-Generation Success Story. I told parts of my story, not the painful parts, those are mine, but the practical parts, working multiple jobs, investing early, building credit, starting a business. After the speech, a young woman approached me. She couldn't have been more than 20. I'm about to graduate, she said. My parents want me to move home and give them half my salary. They say I owe them for raising me. I looked at her nervous hope, her guilty fear, and I saw myself at 18. You don't owe anyone your future, I told her. Your life is not payment for being born. She started crying. I gave her my card. Call me if you need advice, or a reference, or just someone who understands. That's what I do now. I mentor young women building from nothing. I fund scholarships. I speak about financial independence not as selfishness, but as survival. And when people ask if I regret closing the door on my family, I tell them the truth. I regret that it came to that. But I don't regret protecting my peace. Because that's what the door slam was. Not revenge, not cruelty. Just the sound of someone who spent 18 years with no door finally having one to close. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others is to close the door on people who only knock when they need something. I built my life from nothing. It's mine, and no amount of guilt, obligation, or blood relation will make me set it on fire to keep someone else warm. That's not heartless. That's just finally understanding what I'm worth. If you're in a situation like mine, know this. You don't owe anyone access to the life you built after they refused to support the person you were. Family is more than biology. It's who shows up when you need them, not just when they need you.